was telling you about my maternal great-grandfather. He drank a bottle of whiskey every day.
Right.
That was his daily habit. And he didn't go about food. When he came in for, it was that, they're not the muckle great big bottles. And he came in for his lunch, he'd had a good dram, he'd have his lunch, he'd fall asleep for a while, go out doing whatever was going on, came in at night, had for his tea, had a dram, ate his tea, fell asleep in the chair, woke up, finished the bottle and went to bed. And he smoked caps and full-strength fags as well, and he lived until he was 96. Funny wee man with a wee goatee beard. Yeah, so anyway, most people, if you took the whiskey off him, would probably die. His body would be that bloody used to it.
Yeah.
Well, it was some man, but it did occasionally get a wee bit full. It sold his beast hell of a well in Cooper Mart, and you're celebrating the fact in the Railway Hotel, and along the bloody street afterwards, and it had this Rover motor car, which the garage had a whore of a job keeping it on the road because they point blank refused to buy a new one, So anyway, he's along the street, absolutely full as a puggy, and he's sitting in the passenger seat, and the policeman comes along, RT, Robert Thomas was his initial, so everybody he got RT. Policeman says, "Now RT, I think you've had far too many bloody drams for driving this motor car." And old RT said, "I'm perfectly all right, except there's some bugging away with the steering wheel." So at that point, the policeman gets in the car and drives him home. Yeah, that wouldn't happen nowadays either, but you could get away with that sort of behaviour in those days. Yeah. Right, what have we got next, Cam?
You said that you love combining.
I do.
What's been your favourite combine over the years and why?
I think my favourite one is still going to this day. It was an a six-straw walker, conventional straw walker combine, not the rotary one. I can't remember. An 80 or CX 8080, that's what it was. With a 24-foot cut on it. And Lloyd's tickled it up a wee bit more pundy. And of course there was no ad blue or any shite like that's it there in that photograph between the two wee vintage masses.
Oh, what is that combine on the right there?
Yeah, that's Sandy Cows 500. There's an example of that coming to our rally, Tommy Fleming, and there's the one that you have now.
Oh, so it's
yeah. So yeah, it was just a cracking good combine. It really was. Made a lovely sample, and the rasp out the exhaust because it had been opened up. You see, a bit more power. Colin and Neil must have been up at Meldine one time, a still night, and they said you could bloody hear it backing away, and it was a bloody good combine. If I have a hankling, and there's no way I'll ever get one now, a Ransom Super Cavalier. I would bloody love one. And there might be still one or two going about in New Zealand, but they'll be few and far between now.
There was a boy in Classic Track that had 2 or 3.
That's right. Yeah.
He had 18 combines.
I know. That's a real combine.
What's Cav?
That's a real combine fetish. Yeah.
I don't know if that'll fit in the shelf rack in there, will it?
Yeah. Well, the guy in Knight Sprayers, Ron Knight, the father, he's dead now, but he was a great combining man. He used to buy complete basket cases. And of course they had all the facilities in the factory to make new bits and blah blah blah. And he had about 5 or 6 by the time he finished. Massey Harris, 780 specials. They were, back in the day. And then we had Ransoms and Willie Waddle from Rutherford's, because they were the Ransoms agent. He wouldn't speak to fella when he bought a Clayson off Kelsey Tractor. And that was my first combine in Holland 1530 with a 10-foot cut. And I used to do a fair bit of contracting with that here, there, and there, way up in the bloody hills and around about Oik and whatnot. And Kenneth Oliver, I used to do all his combine, and you could always tell when it was Mart Day, because the Granada would come into the field and it would drive 2-3 times round the field before ever he'd see the combine. He was that drunk, and then he would get out and hold on to the bonnet. How's it running? He used to go there. Doing very well, Kenneth. I think it's a little damp. I think we should go to the Fox and Hounds. How that many pickup got back from the Fox and Hound some nights, I'll never know. Anyway, and then, because Billy Fortune drove the farm combine, a 1540S, and then they were getting old, very old, and I was never away from bloody Manners getting bits for them. And John Deere launched the 1100 series combines, and the launch was at West Morrison, the UK launch at West Morrison. And anyway, Mark Halsall, who was the dealer principal in those days, Yorkshire chap, and not everybody got on with him. I got on great with him. Anyway, he phoned up one day. We'd had a demonstration. Ray Johnson brought one in. And it was really weird because I'd been driving a little wee 10-foot cut, nae cab, bugger all, basic as you like. And I jumped into this 1188 buckle, 18-foot cutter on it, cab, air conditioning, you know. Hell, it was just, it just seemed to fit. It was like a glove. I just took it straight away. Anyway, we had a bit go with it, and then Mark phoned up. He says, "How are you getting on with your harvest?" I said, "Oh, we're struggling. The bloody old Claysons are buggered, you know." And he says, "Look, I've bought the 1188 from John Deere that they had at the launch." He says, "Come and take the bloody thing away and finish your harvest." He was quite a shrewd operator, was Mark. So it had 11 hours on it when he came here, and it had 27 on it when we finished the harvest. So that was fine. And then he phoned and said, "I'll come and see you someday." Aye. So he appeared. Anyway, he put a deal on the table, 40% discount for this John Deere 1188. I thought, oh Christ, what am I going to tell Smithy? That bloody kills the tractors, because the TX34s were on the go by then. So I went up and seen him. I says, "I'm in a problem, Smithy." I says, "Sheriffs are offering me this ex-demonstrator 1188 at 40% discount. Get the bloody thing bought." I says, "What do you mean get the bloody thing bought? You're the New Holland salesman and I'm to buy a John Deere." He says, "I'm speaking to you as a friend. You'll never get as good a deal again. Get the bloody thing bought." So I did.
Oh well.
And we ran that for 17 years. It did 2,300 hours, which is quite high for a combine. And then Sheriffs were at Ettlin. Oh, we did get the modern version for just a couple of years, but then we got Kerr's Quarter, so it wasn't going to be adequate. And Sheriffs were after selling me another John Deere, but I just, no, I wanted to go back to New Holland, and it was going to cost me a chunk more, I have to say, but in New Holland, and that was it. I said, "I'm sorry, I'm going back yelly again," and that's the finish of it. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 New Hollands since then, and a fresh one. This year we're going together with Cashy. Yeah, so that, but we're working out the other day, that one combine with a 35-foot header has replaced 6 combines back in the old days.
All right.
Because we had 2, Cashy had 2 New Hollands, Peter Church had an international axial flow, and Wooden had a Massey, I think. So that's as near as damn it 2,000 acres that we're now going to be combining, and there was 6 combines previously working on that acreage, and now we're doing it with one. Just lets you see how things have
move on,
advanced and moved on. Yeah, aye.
Good.
There are certainly different beasties now. Yeah, nae cabs or bugger all, nae taste and bloody goggles and all Christ. I was combining peas in front of the cottages one day, bloody blacks, there was something hellish. Had a motorbike helmet on them, and he awful. This used to be the kitchen in the heydays, and I come in and mother just burst out laughing. I says, "What are you laughing for?" She says, "You look like a bloody panda, go and look at yourself in the mirror." It was just 2 white bits there and black. Yeah. Yeah, and then you're coughing and spluttering and blowing out black bogies for days afterwards. Yuck. That's how we get farmer's lung, yeah.
Aye.
Yeah,
Do you tuck your shirt into your pants?
no, very rarely. I did one time, just by mistake, I think, and Judy said, "For God's sake!"
Have the shirt through the bottom of the pants.
Yes! I tell you who did, though, going back to Rothbury Rally. How things develop, don't they, when you have a conversation. The late Craster Rutherford, after he got his leg chopped off, So we got diabetes. And we were all down there in our caravans and whatnot, having a whale of a bloody time. And the next morning, Craster and Alwyn and Holly's caravan, the door opens. And here's Craster with a leg and a half and the stick and the bloody shirt tucked down the white breast. I says, for Christ's sake, Rutherford, that's a hoot of a sight at 8 o'clock in the morning. Dearie me. Christ.
Good.
Yeah.
At school, did you sit in the front or the back of the class? Were you a sook or a bully? Or a mad lad at the back? Chucking paper at the
Yeah,
teacher?
I was mostly sort of middle back. Yeah, yeah, not paying the blindest bit of attention at all, which, as I say, was a complete and utter waste of my parents' money and my time. But and I'll say this, you might want to switch it off. But there's one thing you learn about public school: how to masturbate effectively and a reasonable command of the English language.
Fair enough.
Anybody says they haven't is a bloody liar. Yeah.
What makes you get rused? What annoys you?
Being falsely accused is my big bloody bugbear. If anybody falsely accuses me of doing something which I know is wrong, I get really bloody riled. I think I'm a reasonably patient fellow. You get maybe slightly better at it as you get older. But yeah, people that maybe don't tell the truth, you know, and they try to pull the wool over your eyes. I remember Watty, what was his name, the salesman for Ancroft Tractor when it was at in Spylaw Road. Watty. Well, the deals lying in that bloody drawer over there. It was for a Massey 390.
Oh, yeah.
And it was all written out. And he came in and I think rather expecting to get the deal. And I says, no, Watty, I think we might be buying an international off of Craster and Henry. Oh, well, he knocked £3,000 off it. I says, you twat. If you can afford to do that now, you could afford to do it right at the bloody start. I says, the fucking door's that way. And I put him out. Yeah, and just that brings another thing on the NFU bloody lassie, Nina Clancy, short skirt and everything, get the Randy Allfermer bloody G'd up. And she came in and we were paying about £6,000 for our farm insurances then. Oh, I'm going back a while now. For the whole thing, cars, houses, the whole bloody lot. Anyway, it had been, no, £5,000 I think it was. Anyway, she came in and we went through all the paperwork, which we'll be doing on Wednesday. And then, right, I'll do my sums, I'll come back. So she came back a couple of days later and said it would be £9,000. Oh, I says, I don't think so. Oh, no. Oh, well, we could maybe do it for 6. The door's that way. And I put her out and on. So I don't like being, lied to and told mistruths when it can be straight. I play a straight game. Always have. I'd like to think I always have done. And my old adage, if you treat other folk like you like to be treated yourself, you'll get on not too bad in this world. So I don't like folk that, cheat and lie and things like that. That's my sort of bugbear. I don't often lose the puggy, but when I do, well, look out. I'm not a fighting man any longer.
No, anymore.
My arthritic old hands, if I did that, I'd be crippled for a week.
Do you have any hobbies other than farming? Do you do anything that you don't can? Do you get into origami or something like that?
No.
Stamp collecting?
I used to stamp collect when I was a wee laddie, right enough, but not now. The straight answer is no, really. I suppose my work is my hobby. I can enjoy my vintage tractors and classic tractors and do jobs of work with them, And so no, I've not been tempted by the Gowf or anything like that. Although, here's another story. My grandfather and Douglas Bader, the World War II ace,
Oh yes, aye.
they met through Mr. De Sutter, who used to do the tin legs, because Grandpa got his leg blown off during the First World War.
Right.
And then, of course, Bader had no legs. So between the pair of them, they only had one leg. And they used to go to the R&A and St Andrews and play golf and drink far too much whiskey. They were a pair of bloody old rogues. And I did once play golf. Where we're at, it was called the Seven Club. It was EB and a whole lot of old college pals. And we organised a big skite. One of the lads had the hotel on the side of Loch Ness. It'll come to me. Never mind. So on the Sunday morning, the boys would play golf and the girls would go and do tennis, you see. So I'd never played golf in my bloody life, and we were still, you know, shall we say, under the influence. I probably started drinking at the first tee, but anyway, I went round the whole course with a number 3 iron and won the competition, much to the annoyance of my golf playing friends. So maybe I should take it up.
Should have done.
And I once curled. Brother Johnny's a great curler, and I went one time and really enjoyed it. But I thought, if I take up the curling as well, there'll be no work done at all in the bloody farm. So I didn't do it. No, I just enjoy my farming, and yeah, that's really just about it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favourite scone?
No, yes, my wife does some excellent ones with currants in them. Very good. And the other day she made Welsh cakes. Oh, yeah, beauty. I never experienced a Welsh cake before in my life, and she very slightly burnt them.
Mm-hmm. On purpose?
Possibly not, but a surplus of butter.
Oh.
And oh yeah, beauty. I made 14 of those things. There's only 2 left. What's to me?
Crumbs on the beer.
Yeah, butter slavers down the beard.
Doing the basin.
Yeah. Yes, Welsh cakes, and we keep working there. Jack and I were working there the other day. No more Welsh cakes today. Oh, how's about a Welsh cake? There's the griddle line there, look. Fucking Welsh cakes, so she's getting all the ingredients out. Yeah.
Do you have any phobias? You feel
Yes, claustrophobic.
Right.
A wee bit claustrophobic. That's why that door is never shut. Somebody, 1 or 2 people have come in and shut the door behind them. Said, whoa, no, stop, leave the door open.
All right, okay.
I have when I'm in a room, I have the door open, unless it's a biggish room like the Vintage Club Hall or something. I'm okay with that, but no, really, I don't like being shut in. No, can't be doing with being shut in. Yeah, bedroom doors has to be open, sitting room door, all the doors have to be open. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Right. These buggers that go in caves and I'm not very good in the sea either. I don't like the sea. Just need to look at the sea in the telly and we went, the roadless lads and I, we went across the island for a road trip in the aforementioned Toyota Land Cruiser. Of course, that was what a bloody great 5 days, so I could have still been there yet. I don't know why the Irish fight every place we went to, they were full of joviality. Anyway, and Jude said, well, you better take a bloody seasickness pill, Quell or something it was called. So take that an hour and a half before, you see, so on the bloody boat. And it was a wee bitty, so I was right on the front, you're holding on to the bar, you know. And of course they're all coming up behind me going, yeah, but I didn't, and on the way back, it was bloody like a mill pond. And Jude phones, how getting on? Oh, we're having lunch. I says, you eat lunch, she says, on a boat? It must be bloody calm. Yeah, so I'm not very keen on the sea. Yeah.
If you didn't do farming, what would you do? Did you ever hanker for anything when you were wee, or be a minister or something?
Yes. An airline pilot, a spaceman, yeah. I suppose haulage would probably have been the... I would have... It's a shame that Father sold the haulage business, and I was just 21 at the time, and I perhaps should have grasped the nettle. But the thing was, we either had to, because we were just 2 wagons, so we either had to expand it and go for gold, or concentrate in the farming, and we were just getting into contracting in those days, and that was going well, and I've always enjoyed the contracting. So we sold the haulage, but Yes, I suppose it probably would have been haulage. Yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
Good.
Mhm.
What have you got in your pockets, and what can you now do without in your pockets?
Right. Well, the boiled soot. So the glasses in metal case, and that's the top. It's got a dot on it now, but I used to have top written on it. Because if you're lying below a machine and you get your glasses on, you're fumbling around, the bloody glasses fall in the aisle of the shit or something, so I wrote top on it. I thought, that looks a bit glaikit with top written on it. So I just have a dot now. So, and it's a metal case, so it can stand some abuse. So the glasses and the bloody bava, of course,
Bava
pen in the bloody boiler suit pocket. The pocket knife, that's a treasured item actually. The head of New Holland Combines UK is a chap called Nigel Honeyman, and he's a great pal of mine. And he was in one time, and he says, there's a knife. So it's a Swiss Army knife, and it keeps a really good edge. So I've always that, and the New Holland. This happened. I didn't lay this out purposely, by the way. It almost looks as if I did. Yeah, well, you see, when I come in at night, I take everything out my bloody boiler, so that gets hoid there, and the stuff gets hoid. Nothing. So New Holland key, that's in that pocket, and the knife and whatnot in that pocket in the boiler suit, and this pocket in the brakes, a bit of loose change perhaps, and in this pocket my drugs and that, you know, for the arthritis. It's an awful who that arthritis. So yeah, we couldn't live without the drugs, you know. I'd be bloody if I stopped taking them, I'd just bloody seize up. Yeah, bloody steel knees. Years of abuse and jumping off lorry decks and looning around and falling off motorbikes and falling off women and yeah, when you're young you think you're indestructible, and to a certain extent you are, and then when you get to sort of 50 odd it all starts bloody catching up with you. Anyway, we're still alive. We're all here. We're waking up in the morning.
If you were offered a hoor for money,
Hooray
money. Would you pose naked in the Farmers Weekly?
Possibly not. I think that would be really embarrassing. Yes.
Fair enough.
No. Yes, that would be frightening for the sales of Farmers Weekly would plummet. Might do it in the classic tractor.
Oh, that's different. The sales will go up. Have you ever milked a cow by hand?
Yes. I have milked cows for a living, believe it or not.
Right.
When I was at Auchencrew College, me and Big Hamish was a pal. We just took to each other the first term. 6'7.5", red hair and a glass eye. Quite a calm sort of looking character, you know. His real name was John, but I got Big Hamish. And him and I just gelled, you know. And we took digs on a wee dairy farm, which he knew the family. The Browns of Spearston farm still exists. 5 brothers on 100 acres. Well, you can imagine the bloody carries on and the bloody high jinks that used to go on. What a bloody carry on that was. New Year's party, everybody used to go to Spearson on Old Year's night and whatnot. The 3-ton trailers that we have, you know, and the red trailer, 3 of them with empty bottles and cans. Jesus Christ, the whole Ayrshire used to descend on Spearson. And anyway, what were we talking about? What was the question?
Milking a coo.
Oh, milking a coo. Well, it was a dairy farm. So they had what was called, what the hell was it called? The coos had to come in and step up onto a concrete plinth. 6. So that was machine milking, but the old buyer round the corner, that was, you could still hand milk there. We didn't do it, you know, full time, but you just needed milk for a cafe or something, you know. And then when I was in New Zealand, I worked for Relief Farm Services, and on my portfolio of jobs that I was reasonably capable of was milking Kai. So I got sent over to a dairy farm over on the west coast, and just about the only way, well, there's only 3 roads cut through the Southern Alps and the train. So you get on the train at Christchurch and there's an engine on each carriage because it's that bloody steep. And I was to get off at Stillwater Station and dial Dobson 370, and I'll never forget that until the day I bloody die. And the guy was called Glenn Stewart. He was more Scots than us guys. He was bloody Scots mental. He used to bloody put Jimmy Shand on the record player first thing in the morning. Oh, right. Anyway, there was no telephone at the station, so I walked across to the pub. I says, "Can I use your phone?" I said, "Yes." So I dialed Dodson 37. It was all party lines, so Dodson 37. And a joiner, a chippy, was working in the house. "Oh, Glenn's out in the paddock. I'll tell him you're there." So time went on, and the barman said, there was only me and the barman, and they said, you fancy beers?" "Oh, well, I'll have a glass of beer, you know." And this was about 2 o'clock, so by 4 o'clock I was just feeling the feel of the effects of said beer. Anyway, I built up this picture in my mind that Glenn Stewart was a great big fella.
Aye.
And I says to the barman, "What kind of car does Glenn have?" "Oh, he doesn't have a car. He just has the tractor. But if he wants a car, he borrows his next door neighbour's blue Ford Falcon." "Oh, right." Anyway, this blue Ford Falcon rolled into the bloody pub. Little wee fella gets out. Into the pub. Never says a word. Gets a jug of beer. "I believe there's a jock in the bar." Well, of course, I'm the only other person there, aren't I? I said, "Oh, Glenn Stewart's the name." "Oh, Charlie." About 4 hours later, we were poured out of the pub. But oh dear, and that was milking. And the reason I was there, because it was Relief Farm Services. You went to replace somebody or extra hands, somebody off sick or whatever. And I did all sorts of things. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I even worked on a pig farm. I'd never done it before. So I'll go and do that. You learn something, you know. And so he was going off to play the bloody bagpipes in a competition in Christchurch. So I was to milk the cows for a week. And so I did. Yeah, and that was just complete bush jungle when he bought that place. But it was unbelievable. It was warm and wet, the conditions. And grass, you could just about see it growing. You know, and we used to whack down all the bloody jungle and fence it off and put the dry cows in. They would bloody trample them out on, and then we used to bash it all up a rotavator and sow grass seed. And when they got to fields, you were moving the electric fence forward, but as fast as you were doing that on the strip grazing, it was growing up behind the bloody cows, you know. Right. Oh, you never seen grass grow like it now, you bloody life. But yes, I have milk cows. I diversify again.
Good. Do you think there are different life forms on other planets? Do you ever
Funnily enough, I do think about that often.
In the combine?
Yes.
In the sprayer?
In the sprayer, yes. I do wonder about that, because I can't get the space. It goes on forever. Mm-hmm. You know, how can that happen? But then if you think, well, okay, there's a big brick wall, but what's beyond the brick wall? Mm. So I suppose it has to go on forever. It's a weird concept, isn't it? And you just wonder, so if this planet evolved into what we all are now, surely to hang there must be somewhere else out there that's done the same or similar.
Why are we the only population?
Exactly. You would think that surely there's something happened somewhere else. Mm-hmm. God alone knows what it is, and they've no come and chapped the door yet. But no, you never know.
Could be amongst us, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got to go and bloody shoot that whore Putin. Yes. Anyway, we better not get into that. Yeah. No. Aye. Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, that's it. That kind of wraps us up.
Oh well.
I'd like to thank Charlie very much for his time this evening. It's went on a wee bit longer than expected, but
because that's that rabbiting off and go off on tangents. I can blather away until 3 o'clock in the bloody morning about all sorts of nonsense.
My battery would run out. No, it's been fantastic.
No,
hopefully folk will learn a wee bit more about you.
Yeah. So what do you do now, Kev? Does that go on to like the
YouTube? It'll go on YouTube.